Enter the clandestine realm of Jeffrey Epstein, where immense wealth and influence veiled a disturbing truth. This documentary unveils the layers of deception, delving into Epstein's intricate network of power and exploitation. Join us as we unravel the enigma of Epstein's life, exposing the harrowing reality behind the facade of privilege and prestige. Epstein embarked on his career journey in New York City, initially as a math instructor at the prestigious Dalton School. However, by the 1970s, he transitioned to the financial sector, joining the ranks of the investment bank Bear Stearns. Eventually, in 1982, he established his own firm, J. Epstein & Co. Reportedly, he targeted clientele with assets surpassing $1 billion and chose to base his operations in the U.S. Virgin Islands for tax optimization. Despite outward displays of wealth, such as residing in a lavish townhouse and contributing generously to various causes and organizations, the origins of Epstein's wealth remain ambiguous. While widely referred to as a billionaire, Forbes challenges this assertion, suggesting his net worth was significantly less. At the time of his death, his estate was valued at $577,672,654, as per a will executed merely 2 days prior. In 2008, Epstein admitted guilt to a felony charge of soliciting prostitution from a minor and received an 18-month prison sentence, of which he served 13 months. Notably, he was granted work release, permitting him to leave jail for an office outside 6 days a week, and he was required to register as a sex offender. Epstein had connections with politicians from various political backgrounds, including figures like Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, along with numerous celebrities and individuals in the public eye. In a 2002 interview with New York Magazine, Trump expressed familiarity with Epstein, describing him as a terrific guy and remarking on their shared appreciation for beautiful women. However, in response to Epstein's recent arrest, Trump stated to the New York Times that he had distanced himself from Epstein in recent years, citing a falling out and asserting that they hadn't spoken in 15 years. Former President Bill Clinton acknowledged in a public statement that he had traveled on Epstein's private plane, but claimed ignorance regarding Epstein's criminal activities. A spokesperson for Clinton clarified that the former president had no knowledge of Epstein's past offenses. The statement detailed Clinton's 4 trips on Epstein's plane between 2002 and 2003, which included travel to Europe, Asia, and Africa, with some stops relating to the work of the Clinton Foundation. In 1998, Epstein acquired 2 islands for $8 million. Following his passing, multiple women have stepped forward, alleging trafficking and abuse on one of the islands, known as Little St. James. This island comprises a collection of villas and forms a portion of the U.S. Virgin Islands located in the Caribbean. In March 2005, a woman contacted Florida's Palm Beach Police Department and alleged that her 14-year-old stepdaughter had been taken to Epstein's mansion by an older girl. While there, she was allegedly paid $300, equivalent to $470, in 2023 to strip and massage Epstein. Gillian Maxwell was born on December 25, 1961, in Maisons-Laffitte, France, to parents Robert Maxwell, a media tycoon, and Elizabeth Maynard. She grew up primarily in the United Kingdom and attended Marlborough College and later Oxford University. After her father's death in 1991, Ghislaine moved to New York City, where she became involved in social circles and befriended numerous influential figures. She eventually became closely associated with Jeffrey Epstein, a wealthy financier, and the two were romantically linked for a period. Maxwell became known for her role in organizing social events and introducing Epstein to prominent individuals in politics, business, and entertainment. However, Her reputation became tarnished when Epstein faced numerous allegations of sexual abuse and trafficking of underage girls. Maxwell herself faced legal scrutiny and was arrested in July 2020 on charges related to her alleged involvement in Epstein's crimes. She was accused of recruiting and grooming young girls for Epstein's abuse. After a highly publicized trial, Maxwell was found guilty of multiple charges of sex trafficking and related offences in December 2021. British socialite Galain Maxwell, now looking at a long prison term for being convicted of sex trafficking in a New York trial, several years following abuse by her ex-boyfriend, the late Jeffrey Epstein. Here are the victims' testimonies presented in court. During the New York trial, 4 women provided testimony against Gillian Maxwell. According to the court, the British socialite preyed on susceptible young girls, manipulated them, and handed them over to be sexually abused by the late disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. The 60-year-old was accused of 6 charges involving persuading minors and engaging in sex trafficking from 1994 to 2004. Following her conviction, she is now looking at a long prison term. Maxwell rejected the accusations and implied that she was being blamed for crimes that Epstein, who died in 2019 while in prison awaiting trial for sex trafficking, had actually committed. A grooming specialist stated that it is quite typical for survivors of child sexual abuse to delay disclosing their experiences to others. One victim waited 20 years before reporting her abuse to the police, claiming she escaped from Epstein during that time. Here are the accounts of the women who testified against Maxwell. Jane, using a pseudonym to conceal her 22-year acting career, stated in court that she was first exploited by Epstein, 14 years old, and depicted Maxwell as being involved in the abuse. Jane initially encountered Epstein and Maxwell in 1994 when she was participating in a music camp to pursue a singing career. Her story was that she was enjoying some ice cream with her friends when Maxwell came over with a Yorkshire Terrier. Epstein showed up shortly after. Jane stated that the mistreatment started later in that same year, after Epstein escorted her to a pool house in his residence located in Palm Beach, Florida. He lowered his pants, brought her near, and began to masturbate. She informed the jurors, "I was paralyzed with terror. I was scared and disgusted, feeling humiliated." Jane also mentioned in court that she was brought to a massage room where Maxwell and Epstein exploited her. She further mentioned that Maxwell provided directions for the sexual massages and occasionally joined in physically. Another person making accusations, giving her evidence using the fake name Kate. The second victim described how Maxwell groomed her and informed her that she was one of Epstein's preferred individuals. The woman, 44 years old now, was 17 when she relocated to Britain from France and had tea with Maxwell, her London townhouse, in 1994. She described how she went back to the townhouse weeks later, where Epstein was present, and gave him a foot massage, requested by Maxwell. After a few weeks, Maxwell requested that she come back to the house and massage Epstein. She stated that Maxwell escorted her to a massage room where Epstein was present, dressed in a bathrobe. She commented that he was naked after removing his clothes. The witness reported that Maxwell handed her massage oral, shut the door, and afterwards, Epstein engaged in a sexual encounter with her. Third person making an accusation, Carolyn, the third person to give testimony, used her first name to maintain confidentiality and revealed that she provided Epstein with sexual massages at the age of 14. According to her, Maxwell would occasionally phone her to set up meetings with Epstein, for which she would receive compensation from $300 to $400, around £227 to £303 per appointment. Carolyn stated that she visited Epstein's Palm Beach residence on over 100 occasions during the following 4 years, frequently providing him with massages 2 to 3 times per week. The woman remembered how Epstein would touch her breasts and buttocks, and mentioned that the encounters would always conclude with him masturbating. An ex-boyfriend of Carolyn, Sean, confirmed her testimony and stated he transported her and two other girls to Epstein's Florida residence several times in the early 2000s. He remembered getting a phone call from one of the three women employed by Epstein, who mentioned that one of them had an accent that sounded properly English. The fourth person making allegations, Annie Farmer, was the sole accuser who testified using her complete name among the four. She stated that Maxwell and Epstein raped her when she was 16. Miss Farmer discussed a trip to Epstein's estate in New Mexico in 1996, during which Maxwell touched her chest and Epstein got into bed with her. At 42 years old, she described how he purchased a plane ticket for her to visit her sister in New York in 1995, who was working for him before they even met. She remembered encountering him during the journey and sitting beside him at the theater, where he grasped her hand and began caressing it before moving on to rubbing the sole of her shoe, foot, and leg. She mentioned that she was feeling nauseous. Miss Farmer stated that Epstein covered the cost of the airfare for a trip to his New Mexico estate in 1996. She recalled waking up in the morning to Epstein playfully opening her door, expressing a desire to cuddle. He then climbed into bed with her, wrapped his arms around her, and pressed his body against hers. Miss Farmer explained that she fabricated a reason to visit the bathroom in the hope that by spending enough time there, the entire situation would have concluded when she returned. Following a discussion about massages, Miss Farmer remembered Maxwell instructing her to undress and then proceeding to rub her body, back, and legs before having her roll over onto her back. Miss Farmer expressed feeling frozen and surprised, stating, "I really wanted to get off the table and complete the massage." Maxwell's connection with Epstein, her ex-boyfriend, was labeled as perilous, and it was revealed in court that she played a central role in his extravagant way of living. The prosecution accused Maxwell, daughter of ex-media tycoon Robert Maxwell, of targeting vulnerable young girls, manipulating them, and facilitating their sexual abuse. Federal prosecutor Laura Pomerantz stated to the jury that Maxwell and Epstein were a team engaged in criminal activity, labeling them as predators who exploited and harmed children sexually over a period of 10 years. She claimed that the duo lured girls as young as 14 to take part in what they called massages, during which sexual abuse was normalized as victims were given money and presents. Epstein had sufficient funds to hire the best prostitutes he desired, but he had no interest in doing so. He desired frightened, adolescent females. That was all a component of his imagination, so it simply expanded from there. And sadly, there were likely hundreds of girls who were harmed by him. It occurred twice or 3 times daily. It felt like a spinning entranceway. The greater the number of girls he already had, the more he desired to recruit additional girls, as he always sought fresh faces. He always desired young, fresh girls. Did having just 3 girls at his disposal satisfy him, or did he desire a constant rotation of young girls? He effectively prepared them to think that he would rescue them from the despair in their lives. A lot of them experienced extremely challenging lifestyles. A few of them resided in foster care. Their parents were addicted to drugs. They came from various circumstances. However, the main point was that they did not have a solid family life in their household. And he was aware of that. He observed them closely. He inquired about their life by asking them questions. He discovered the exact weaknesses or vulnerable points they had. And he would ask them, "Do you have the desire to learn about this? Are you interested in becoming a model? I will assist you in becoming a model." Then they observed the walls of his residence, adorned with photographs featuring Bill Clinton and various renowned, influential individuals. And they were truly convinced that he would assist them. They grew reliant on him. They lacked a sense of family life in their own homes, a strong foundation in their lives. and he became that foundation for them. Ever since billionaire Jeffrey Epstein was arrested on July 6th on charges of sex trafficking, the media have been scrambling to make sense of what happened on Little St. James, his 70-acre private island in the Caribbean. But on nearby St. Thomas, locals say Epstein continued to bring underage girls to the island as recently as this year, a decade after he was forced to register as a convicted sex offender, and that authorities did nothing to stop him. Two employees who worked at the local airstrip on St. Thomas tell Vanity Fair that they witnessed Epstein boarding his private plane on multiple occasions in the company of girls who appeared to be under the age of consent. According to the employees, the girls arrived with Epstein aboard one of his two Gulfstream jets. Between January 2018 and June 2019, previously published flight records show the jets were airborne at least 1 out of every 3 days. They stopped all over the world, sometimes for only a few hours at a time: Paris, London, Slovakia, Mexico, Morocco. When they left St. Thomas, the employees say, they returned to airports near Epstein's homes in Palm Beach and New York City. A former air traffic controller at the airstrip, who preferred to stay unnamed, witnessed Epstein leaving his helicopter, standing on the tarmac in front of the tower, and getting on his private jet with female children multiple times. One particular event remains vivid in my memory, as the girls were extremely young. They must have been under 16. Epstein appeared extremely mad and threw his coat towards one of them. They were also holding bags of purchases from stores that were not located on the island. I recollect wondering, where on earth did they go shopping? Another worker at the airport, who wished to remain anonymous due to restrictions on discussing passengers while on duty, mentioned that Epstein would typically arrive at St. Thomas around twice a month. The employee remembers seeing girls who appeared to be high school age. They appeared extremely youthful. They always had on college sweatshirts. It appeared to be like camouflage. That's the most accurate description. Epstein wore a tracksuit, while the girls were holding shopping bags from high-end brands like Gucci and Dior. The employee mentions that he and his colleagues used to make jokes about the things they were witnessing. Whenever he arrived or departed, the topic was always mentioned. We used to constantly joke about the number of children on board each time. However, the employee also expresses feeling complete revulsion, deeming it completely outrageous that a convicted sex offender could freely wander during the Me Too movement. The employee claims she saw him with her own eyes. I likened it to witnessing a serial killer in plain sight. I labeled it as the embodiment of wickedness. It seems that Epstein did not try to conceal his trips with young girls. The airport in St. Thomas is easily visible from a main road, and a parking lot at the nearby University of the Virgin Islands offers a full view of the runway and most of the planes. Epstein's aircraft is consistently parked in front of the control tower at Little St. James when he is present at his home there. The employee describes how it seemed like he was showing off as young girls were getting out of his helicopter and boarding his plane. However, despite this, it was mentioned that he consistently left generous tips, which led everyone to ignore his imperfections. Local officials in the Virgin Islands did not investigate Jeffrey Epstein's frequent travels with underage girls, despite his status as a convicted sex offender. Authorities like Chief William Harvey and ex-Senator Samuel Saines were unaware of any probes. Epstein's attorneys deny any illegal activities, but residents are surprised by his freedom to travel with young girls. Air traffic controllers were unsure who to inform and assumed authorities were managing the situation. On July 6, 2019, billionaire Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in New Jersey for a trip to Paris. He appeared in court on July 8th, charged with sex trafficking and conspiracy involving girls as young as 14 in New York and Florida from 2002 to 2005. The government opposes bail due to his vast resources, including billions of dollars and several private planes. The charges were long overdue, partly due to a 2007 plea deal by Alex Acosta, which reduced Epstein's charges significantly. This deal likely violated the rights of Epstein's accusers and is now under scrutiny as Epstein faces new charges. Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide on August 10, 2019, in his New York City jail cell, officially ruled as hanging. However, his death sparked controversy and numerous conspiracy theories due to suspicious circumstances, such as missing video recordings and to guards allegedly sleeping at the same time. Epstein's brother and others doubt the suicide ruling, citing his vast knowledge of incriminating information on powerful individuals. There is speculation that Epstein might have had assistance in his death, possibly even an assisted suicide. The need for further investigation remains. Galain Maxwell was arrested on July 2, 2020, by the FBI Hampshire and charged with multiple offenses related to her role in Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking operation, including enticing minors for illegal sex acts, conspiracy, and perjury. After an extensive investigation, she was denied bail and remained in custody awaiting trial. On June 28, 2022, Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison for her involvement in sex trafficking and the exploitation of underage girls. Exploitation and unresolved mysteries. His life and crimes uncovered the dark side of wealth and influence, revealing a long-standing network of abuse that affected many. Although Epstein's death left many questions unanswered, the ongoing investigations and trials of his associates, like Gillian Maxwell, strive to bring justice to the victims. This saga highlights the need for vigilance, accountability, and the unwavering pursuit of truth. As we conclude this chapter, we honor the bravery of the survivors and renew our commitment to uncovering the full extent of Epstein's crimes, ensuring such atrocities are never repeated.